no fire has ever been lit. And I went and bought a steel guitar, and I've always loved the instrument, and it reminds me a lot of a voice, a human voice.
The country music world was shaken to its core when Vince Gill suddenly vanished from the stage, leaving fans worried and confused. Known for his heartfelt songs and warm presence, his unexpected silence sparked fear and sadness across the globe.
His death killed me, but his life inspired me.
What really happened to this beloved legend? Let's find out about the heartbreaking events that left Vince Gill's fans in tears. The CMA Awards absence. People love Vince Gill not just because of his voice, but because of who he is. His music carries a warmth and honesty that feels like a conversation with an old friend. He's the kind of artist who can sing about heartbreak, faith, or love, and somehow make every listener feel like the song was written just for them. That's why when he didn't appear at the 2018 CMA Awards, people noticed and they worried. That year, Vince was scheduled to perform a tribute to Ricky Skaggs, a moment many fans were looking forward to. The two men shared a deep musical bond, and seeing them on the same stage was meant to be a highlight of the night. But when the show began, and Vince didn't appear, fans were left confused. Whispers quickly turned to concern. News soon broke that Vince had been hospitalized. He was suffering from a kidney stone, an intense and painful condition that struck suddenly. Most people who've had one say it's one of the worst pains imaginable. For a performer like Vince, who always shows up, it was clear this wasn't something he could push through. He had no choice but to cancel. The timing couldn't have been worse. Along with missing the CMA Awards, Vince also had to postpone his concerts in Birmingham and St. Louis, planned for November 15th and 16th. Fans who had already bought tickets and made travel plans were heartbroken, but their reaction wasn't anger. It was sympathy. That's the kind of respect Vince Gill has earned over decades. In the days that followed, his daughter Jenny Gill stepped in to reassure fans. He was in a lot of pain, but he's doing better now, she told local reporters. It was scary, but he's in good hands. He hates disappointing people, but his health had to come first. Her voice trembled a little during the interview, and it was clear this was more than just a missed show. It was a moment that reminded everyone that even legends are human. Country music stars and fans began to post messages of support. Ricky Skaggs shared kind words during a backstage interview. "We were all looking forward to singing together, but Vince's health is more important. He's like a brother to me. I know he wanted to be here, and I know he'll be back stronger." For many fans, the news triggered personal memories. One woman commented on Facebook, "I remember when my husband had a kidney stone. We ended up in the ER at 3 a.m. It was awful. I can't imagine trying to perform while dealing with that." Another wrote, "Vince, take care of yourself. We'll always be here when you're ready." What stood out most during this time was the deep connection between Vince and his audience. It wasn't just about music anymore. It was about concern, loyalty, and a shared sense of care. In a world where celebrities often feel distant, Vince Gill felt close. His absence didn't just affect the lineup of a show. It left a gap that fans truly felt. Behind the scenes, Vince's team worked quietly to manage cancellations and rescheduling. Though many venues were disappointed, all of them expressed the same sentiment. His health came first. The respect for him wasn't just from fans, but from the entire industry. When Vince finally returned to the stage a few weeks later, there was a quiet power in his performance. He didn't need to explain anything. His music did the talking. He smiled, thanked the audience, and sang with the same grace and soul that had made him a legend. The crowd didn't cheer loudly. They listened closely, almost as if they didn't want to miss a single note. That CMA Awards absence in 2018 wasn't just about a missed performance. It was a moment that reminded everyone why Vince Gill matters. Not just because he's a gifted musician, but because he's a real person. One who feels pain, puts family first, and never takes his fans for granted. But this wasn't the first time Vince's sudden disappearance had shaken his fans. He once again left them worried, with an unexpected silence that followed just a few years later. A sudden silence. Vince Gill had always been a constant presence in the world of country music. Fans could count on him. His concerts were more than just shows. They felt personal. So when word spread in late July 2022 that Vince had canceled 3 concerts without warning, fans were caught off guard. The dates in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Tysons, Virginia, were suddenly off the calendar. No details, no explanation at first. Just silence. People took to social media, trying to figure out what had happened. Was Vince okay? Was someone in his band sick? Rumors started flying, and with no official word, concern grew quickly. One longtime fan wrote, "Vince doesn't just cancel. Something must be really wrong." Others echoed that feeling, and it didn't take long before the real reason surfaced. Amy Grant, Vince's wife and a beloved artist in her own right, had been in a terrible bicycle accident. She had been riding near their home in Nashville when she hit a pothole and was thrown from her bike. She was wearing a helmet, but the impact was serious. Amy suffered deep cuts, bruises, and a traumatic brain injury. She was rushed to Vanderbilt University Medical Center. That's when fans realized this wasn't about a schedule change. This was about life and health and heartbreak. Vince didn't speak to the press. He didn't release a long statement. He just stayed by Amy's side. Every concert was dropped, every appearance forgotten. His only focus was her recovery. The news shook fans deeply. Amy Grant wasn't just Vince's wife. She was a music icon. Together, they were a symbol of love, family, and faith. The image of Amy lying in a hospital bed while Vince sat beside her quietly broke hearts across the country. In an interview a few weeks later, a family friend shared what those early days were like. Vince didn't leave her side. He held her hand through everything. He told the doctors, "I'll cancel every show if I have to. She comes first." That's just who he is. Jenny Gill, Vince's daughter, also gave a brief update to fans who had been waiting anxiously. "It was scary. We didn't know how bad it was going to be at first. But Mom is strong, and Dad is even stronger when it comes to her." Fans felt that, because many of them had been there, watching a loved one recover from an accident, waiting for small signs of improvement, trying to stay hopeful through the fear. Vince wasn't just a star anymore. He was a husband in pain, just like anyone else. Churches around Nashville held prayer circles. Fans lit candles and posted prayers online. One comment on Facebook read, "Amy was there for me during hard times with her music. Now it's our turn to be there for her." Another fan wrote, "Take all the time you need, Vince. We'll be here when you're ready." Weeks passed, and Amy slowly began to recover. She experienced memory loss and had to go through therapy. Vince had stayed close, canceling more appearances quietly. There were no flashy headlines, no big announcements, just love in action, behind the scenes. When Amy finally made her first public appearance months later, she thanked the fans for their prayers and shared how Vince had never once left her side. "I don't remember the accident," she said, "but I remember waking up and seeing him there every time. He was my anchor." For many fans, those words said it all. Vince Gill had always been admired for his music, but in that quiet, painful summer of 2022, he became something more. he became a symbol of devotion. His absence left a silence that fans felt deeply. But that silence spoke louder than any song. It told a story of real love, real sacrifice, and real fear. And when he finally returned to the stage, it wasn't just about the music anymore. It was about healing. People cheered a little louder. They listened a little closer, because they knew what Vince and Amy had been through. And they were just grateful to see him standing there smiling again. That summer, fans learned something important. Even their heroes bleed. Even legends have to stop sometimes. But when they come back, they do it with even more heart. And that's why Vince Gill is not just a musician. He's family. Let's tell you about another big moment in Vince's life. A moment that tested his strength, moved his fans, and once again reminded everyone why his journey means so much to so many. Health scares and heartfelt decisions. Vince Gill has always carried himself with quiet strength. On stage, his voice felt like home. Off stage, he was known for kindness, humility, and grace. But even the strongest souls face moments that shake them. In 2020, Vince had one of those moments. Fans had noticed something was different. His energy during shows wasn't quite the same. He still gave his heart to the music, but there were signs, pauses between songs, moments where he caught his breath longer than usual. Many just thought it was age catching up. But behind the scenes, Vince was carrying a much heavier truth. That year, Vince was diagnosed with a congenital heart condition. It had been quietly affecting him for years, but now it could no longer be ignored. The doctors told him it wasn't something to take lightly. He needed to slow down, to make changes. Not just in music, but in life. For someone like Vince, who had spent most of his life on the road, in recording studios or singing to crowds, the thought of stepping back was not easy. Music was more than his job. It was his lifeline. But when your heart speaks, you have no choice but to listen. He began canceling select shows. Fans noticed and worried. Social media buzzed again, just like it had during earlier absences. "Is Vince okay?" one post asked. Another said, "He's been with us through our hard times. Let's be with him through his." A few weeks later, Vince addressed the situation quietly during a small show in Nashville. "I've got something going on with my heart," he said. "It's something I was born with, and we've known for a while. But now, it needs attention." The room fell silent. No music, just truth. He explained that the condition was not immediately life-threatening, but it was serious enough to require medical help and a shift in how he worked. "I want to be around for my wife, my daughters, and for you all too," he said, placing his hand on his chest. That moment connected with fans in a deep, personal way. Everyone knows someone with a heart issue. Everyone has worried about someone they love, and here was Vince, speaking honestly about his. He didn't hide it. He didn't pretend to be invincible. He let the world see his human side. Amy Grant later shared more during an interview. "Vince is always the one carrying everyone else's burdens. This time we had to carry his for a little while. He was scared, but he never stopped being kind. That's who he is." Adjusting his schedule was just the beginning. Vince also started focusing more on health. He took more time at home. He went for checkups more often. The man who once raced from city to city began to slow down, but he never lost his heart for music. A longtime band member said, "Even when he was dealing with all this, he still came into rehearsals with a smile. He'd say, 'Let's make something beautiful today.' That's Vince." And fans respected him more than ever. Not because he kept going, but because he knew when to stop. That decision, To protect his health and be there for his family showed the depth of his character. "I'd rather have Vince healthy and at home than pushing through a show just for the sake of it," one fan commented. "He's given us decades of music. Now he needs to take care of himself." Eventually, Vince returned to the stage. He sang with the same honesty, but there was something more in his voice now. A softness, a deeper kind of strength. You could hear the journey in every word. And that's what makes Vince Gill different. He doesn't just sing about life. He lives it, with all its ups and downs. He shows us that vulnerability is not weakness, it is courage. But nothing shook fans more than the heartbreaking whispers that followed. The devastating rumor of Vince Gill's death that spread like wildfire, leaving millions in shock and disbelief. The final bow. Vince Gill passed away quietly at his home in Nashville, Tennessee. The news hit like a thunderclap, leaving fans, friends, and the entire music community in shock and deep sorrow. For decades, Vince had been a comforting voice in country music, sharing stories of love, hope, loss, and resilience. But despite his steady presence on stage and in hearts everywhere, his health had been fragile in recent years. Surrounded by his loved ones, Vince took his final breath, closing a chapter filled with both tremendous triumphs and profound struggles. Vince's journey was never an easy one. Born in a small Oklahoma town, he grew up in a family where financial struggles were a daily reality. Money was tight, and dreams often felt far away. But from a young age, Vince found solace in music. It became his safe place, a world where he could pour out his feelings and escape the hardships of life. He spent countless hours practicing guitar, writing songs, and dreaming of a future where music would take him beyond the limits of his childhood. His early years as a musician were full of challenges. Vince played in countless small clubs and bars, working tirelessly to make a name for himself. Rejections and setbacks came often. The music industry was tough and sometimes cold, but Vince's determination never wavered. Slowly, he began to build a reputation, not just for his incredible voice, but also for his genuine kindness and humility. These qualities made him beloved not only by fans, but also by his peers. In the late 1980s and 1990s, Vince's star began to rise rapidly. His heartfelt songs and soulful voice earned him awards and respect. Hits like "I Still Believe in You" and "Go Rest High on That Mountain" became anthems for people experiencing grief and healing. Vince's music was real, honest, and relatable, and that made all the difference. People didn't just listen to his songs, they felt them. But life continued to test Vince off stage. Personal struggles and health problems crept in. In 2020, he was diagnosed with a congenital heart condition, something he had carried quietly for years without letting it slow him down. The diagnosis forced him to rethink his life and career. No longer could he tour relentlessly or push his body to the limits. It was a hard lesson, but Vince took it with grace, choosing to prioritize his health and his family. Just 2 years later, in 2022, his wife Amy Grant was severely injured in a bicycle accident. Vince canceled concerts and put his music on hold to support her recovery. Amy suffered serious cuts and a brain injury, and Vince stood by her side every step of the way. This period showed fans a more vulnerable side of Vince, the devoted husband and father who placed love above everything else. Despite these hardships, Vince never lost his spirit or his voice. His music continued to touch lives, and his presence remained a source of comfort for many. But in early 2025, his health took a sudden downturn. Surrounded by his family at home in Nashville, Vince passed away peacefully. The world lost not just a singer, but a storyteller, a friend, and a beacon of strength for those who had followed his journey. The reaction was immediate and heartfelt. Tributes poured in from fellow artists, fans, and music lovers worldwide. Brad Paisley called Vince a true gentleman and an incredible talent whose music will live forever. Reba McEntire remembered him as a man of kindness and humility who touched so many lives with his soul. Fans shared stories of how Vince's songs had helped them through their own darkest days. One fan wrote, "His music was the soundtrack to my life. I can't imagine a world without his voice." In an emotional interview, Amy Grant spoke about Vince's life and legacy. "Vince was a fighter from the start," she said softly. "He faced so many challenges. Some of them you never knew about, but he never let them define him. His music was his way of connecting with the world, of sharing his heart when words were not enough." She described him as humble and deeply caring, always thinking of others before himself. "He was my rock, and he was a light for so many people." Their daughter Jenny Gill added, "Dad taught me how to be strong and kind, even when things get tough. I will miss him every day, but I know his spirit will live on through his music and in all of us who loved him." Vince Gill's story is one of resilience, hope, and love. He showed the world that true strength comes not from never falling, but from getting up every time life knocks you down. From his difficult childhood, through a career filled with both accolades and health battles, to his final days surrounded by family, Vince lived with honesty and grace. His music remains timeless, a legacy that continues to inspire and heal. His voice, though silent now, still echoes in the hearts of millions who found comfort in his songs. Memorials and tributes across the country celebrated his life, with fans gathering to sing his songs and share memories. Churches in Nashville held special services, reminding everyone that while the final bow had been taken, Vince's impact was everlasting. Let's find out what made Vince Gill's impact so powerful that his loss moved fans and fellow artists alike to share such emotional tributes. The emotional tributes. Vince Gill was more than just a country music star. He was a man whose heart and soul touched everyone he met. His music told stories of love, loss, hope, and resilience. After his passing, the world was not just mourning the loss of a talented artist, but also a deeply kind and genuine human being. The emotional tributes that poured in from fans and fellow artists showed how much Vince meant to so many people. During a residency at Nashville's historic Ryman Auditorium, Vince created a deeply personal moment that captured the hearts of everyone present. He introduced his daughter, Corina Gill, to the audience, inviting her to perform a song he had written for his wife Amy Grant, called "When My Amy Prays." Corina's version of the song included changed lyrics that made the performance even more touching. The song was a beautiful reminder of the family's strength and unity in the face of hardship, especially during the challenging years when Amy was recovering from her serious bicycle accident. The audience sat in silence, many wiping tears from their eyes as Corina sang with heartfelt emotion. This was not just a musical performance. It was a window into the personal life of a man who had always put family first. Vince's presence on stage, supporting his daughter, showed the world that even in moments of sadness and struggle, love could shine through. Fellow musicians and friends also expressed their sorrow and admiration after Vince's passing. Brad Paisley, a longtime friend and fellow country star, said in a heartfelt statement, "Vince Gill was a beacon of kindness and talent. He always carried himself with humility and grace. His music brought joy to millions, but it was his character that truly made him unforgettable." Brad's words reflected the sentiment shared by many who knew Vince both on and off the stage. Reba McEntire, another close friend and country music legend, shared her memories of Vince. Vince was one of the kindest people I ever had the pleasure to know. He never let fame get to his head. He was always there to lend a helping hand or a listening ear. His music was powerful, but his heart was even more so. Reba's tribute reminded fans that Vince's greatest strength was his genuine spirit, which inspired not only his fans, but also the people he worked with throughout his career. Amy Grant, Vince's wife, who stood by him through every twist and turn of life, gave a moving interview about their journey together. "Vince was my rock, my partner, and my best friend. We faced so much together, health scares, accidents, and the pressures of a life in music. But through it all, Vince never lost his light. He loved deeply and gave everything he had, not just to his music but to me and our family." Amy's words gave fans a glimpse of the private strength and tenderness that defined their relationship. The musical community also came together to honor Vince at special memorial events. Many artists performed their own renditions of his most beloved songs, showing the wide influence Vince had across genres. Carrie Underwood said, "Vince's music helped shape my career. His voice and songwriting were a gift to the world. I am forever grateful for his kindness and mentorship." These tributes showed that Vince was not only admired for his talent, but also respected for the way he lifted others up. Fans shared their personal stories too. Many talked about how Vince's songs helped them through difficult times, whether it was healing after loss or finding hope during hardship. One fan wrote, "When I lost my father, Vince's song, 'Go Rest High on That Mountain,' was the only thing that brought me peace. His music feels like a warm hug when you need it most." This kind of connection between artist and listener is rare, and it showed just how powerful Vince's legacy truly was. Vince's family carried on his spirit as well. His daughter Karina spoke about how proud she was to carry on her father's musical legacy. Performing "When My Amy Prays" at the Ryman was so special. It reminded me that music is not just about fame or awards. It's about sharing love and healing. Karina's words brought the story full circle, showing that the gift of music and love will continue through the next generation. In the days following Vince's death, social media was flooded with messages of gratitude and sorrow. Fans posted videos of their favorite Vince Gill performances, shared quotes from his songs, and expressed how much his music had meant to them. The hashtag #RememberVinceGill trended, uniting people across the world in collective mourning and celebration. What made these tributes so emotional was not just Vince's incredible talent, but the man behind the music, the father, husband, and friend who faced life's ups and downs with courage and kindness. His story was one of perseverance through pain and a constant belief in the healing power of love and music. Even as the world said goodbye, Vince's voice continued to echo in the hearts of those who loved him. His songs remain a testament to the struggles he endured and the hope he never gave up on. The outpouring of love and tribute was a reminder that while Vince Gill may have taken his final bow, his music and spirit live on forever. An enduring melody. In the weeks following his passing, many fans returned to Vince's extensive catalog of songs, searching for comfort and connection. Songs like "Go Rest High on That Mountain" and "When I Call Your Name" took on new meaning, offering a way to process grief and remember the kindness Vince always shared. Social media feeds filled with heartfelt posts, videos, and covers of his songs. Fans shared how his music had been a steady companion through their own struggles, from personal losses to moments of joy. One fan wrote, "Every time I listen to Vince's songs, I feel like he's right there with me. His voice was a light in my darkest times." Another shared a video of a candlelight vigil held in a small town, where locals sang Vince's songs together in tribute. These gatherings showed how deeply Vince's music had woven itself into people's lives, creating communities bound by shared memories and emotions. Tributes took many forms. Some fans created art inspired by Vince's lyrics and image, while others wrote letters or poems expressing their gratitude for the comfort his music had brought. A group of young musicians even formed a tribute band, performing Vince's songs at local venues to keep his spirit alive. These acts of remembrance weren't just about mourning, they were celebrations of a life that had meaningfully touched so many. Radio stations dedicated special programming to Vince, playing his greatest hits and sharing stories about his life. Interviews with family members and fellow musicians helped fans understand the man behind the music even more deeply. These broadcasts reminded listeners why Vince's songs had such lasting power, because they came from real life, real pain, and real love. Fans also honored Vince during concerts and festivals. At country music events, artists paused to pay their respects, often dedicating performances to him. Audience members held up signs and sang along with tears in their eyes, united in the shared experience of loss and remembrance. These moments underscored how much Vince's music had become a soundtrack for life's most meaningful moments. In everyday life, fans find themselves humming Vince's melodies or recalling his lyrics at unexpected times. His songs have become a part of their personal stories, played at weddings, during road trips, or quietly listened to on a difficult day. This ongoing connection shows that Vince's influence goes far beyond his lifetime. He continues to inspire courage, healing, and hope. Vince Gill's legacy is not only preserved in recordings or awards, but in the hearts of millions who found solace in his music. The enduring love and admiration from fans are powerful reminders that true artistry lives on forever. Through every note and every lyric, Vince's spirit remains close, a comforting presence for all who miss him deeply. What do you think about Vince Gill's passing? Do you miss his music and the warmth he brought to the world? Share your thoughts and memories in the comments below. Let's remember him together.